Okay, so this is going to be the basic overview of what you're going to be doing for this editing test, where we're just going to kind of see how you would approach this and get a feel for whether or not this is going to be a good fit. So the overall idea that you're going to be doing with these articles is you're going to take an article and make it the best version of itself. So that means um, as much as possible taking what's there, cleaning it up, fixing it, making it work well compared to how it started. Sometimes this is going to take more editing. Sometimes it won't take very much. But the idea is that at the end result should be that you have a clear, concise article that gets the point across and does so as simply as possible. So some of the main things that I'm going to be looking for. I want every word on the page to be necessary. So this is going to mean two things. It's going to mean that sometimes you're going to trim down sections. You're going to remove wording, or you're going to remove whole sentences. Basically, if it's repetitive and it doesn't serve a good purpose, I want it gone. So every point that's being made needs to be made simply and quickly. Um, Sometimes, I mean, there's going to be the need for a point to have evidence, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. I just don't want the point to be said the same idea to be said in two different ways and whatnot. Not for an article like this. We want it to get the point across as quickly as possible. And then the other thing that's going to mean is that's going to mean actually adding content sometimes when a point isn't clearly communicated. So the opposite, maybe a point is made, but it's not actually fleshed out. Like if something is said and you feel like you would want more information if that was said within the article. So if that's the case, feel free to try and bulk it up. Now there's going to be times where not enough is said and it's beyond the scope of what would make sense for editing. In those cases, you're going to use comments, and I have that down here, how you do that. But basically the idea is you select a piece of text. So here, let me select this, and then you press either Control, it's Control Alt M, or Command Alt M if you're on a Mac, and that'll bring up this little comment area over here. And my screen isn't quite big enough for you to see the whole thing, but this allows you to type a note about that selected text, and that'll show up on the side. So like if you click this note over here, it highlights the area and it kind of says what you're saying about that. So you would use this again if you encounter an area that really needs more detail and it would require research or something. So like going onto the internet, figuring out the actual points that need to be made for that. So if that's the case, that's how I want you to handle that. But sometimes it's just going to be that you need to make a point that you already know how to make. So use your best judgment on that. If something needs to be fleshed out further, that's fine. That's going to be part of the editing process. So kind of going backwards on how the points are here, but I want them to be simple and clear. Rephrasing things in the same, rephrasing the same idea in different words when you're actually talking to somebody may be useful, but when it's happening in the written word, it definitely seems to cloud up how quickly somebody can read through it and how quickly they can consume it, and that actually makes it a little bit more confusing. So for editing these articles, we want them simple and direct and to the point. Another thing that's worth noting is that I want short paragraphs. This is not what most people were taught, in school for what is good writing, but it's the kind of writing that makes sense for the web. What this means is 3 sentences max per paragraph, but 1 sentence is fine, and in some cases, 1 word is fine. The biggest idea that you want is 1 idea per paragraph. So, in school you may have been taught that you have, your paragraph with the main idea, and then your points, and then the supporting evidence, and all that happens in the same paragraph. That's not how we do. That's not how we do these types of articles. That's not how we write when we're just trying to communicate clearly. especially for the web, which is where most of these articles are going. What you want to do is to accomplish the same idea that paragraphs do in academic writing. You want to use subheadings. So this is going to be, you can use these and use heading 2 or heading 3 if you want to step down further. But the idea is, if a section, say the article is like the three reasons why you should sell your house today. So you would use the subheadings to say, point 1, the market's great for sellers. Point 2, there's, you're talking to the right agent, or whatever. So whatever the points are, you're going to use subheadings to separate that. And then under those subheadings, you just want one idea per paragraph. So, if you have an idea and then the supporting evidence, that's okay to be in the same paragraph. But if you move to kind of a secondary point in that under that subheading, then that should move to a new paragraph. Overall, you're probably going to find that breaking it down more is going to be what I'm looking for. I don't want bulky paragraphs unless they're necessary. So anyway, that's one of the big ideas. That's something that you can learn over time. I'm not horribly worried about that. I can kind of show you, if we end up working together, what specifically that looks like to me. But if you can implement that in this test, that'll possibly set you apart from some of the other candidates. The other big thing that you're going to be doing is you're going to be cleaning up phrasing. So these articles are written overseas, and they're done well. The people that we have doing them do write fairly well. They do this a lot. And they generally have a good understanding about how to write a decent article. But there's some differences in phrasing that come across, and the phrasing isn't necessarily wrong, but it doesn't quite jive with what we in the States would normally hear or normally say if we wanted to get across the same idea. In those cases where it just doesn't hit your ear right, I want you to clean those up and make them sound like a normal everyday American would have them sound. So that's kind of the other big thing that you're going to be doing. Not everything will be like that. It tends to be specific phrases that are just different. But anyway, so that's the other thing that you're doing. So then comments, the other thing that you're going to use comments for, aside from where areas need to be bulked out, is any time that you want to share your thoughts about a section. So say you want to tell me why you changed something, or that maybe you're unsure of a section and you think that it may be it may not be needed, but you're not completely sure. This is how we would normally communicate through an article like this, where you would be able to select this and say, I don't like this section, but I'm not sure if it's necessary. And so I would have that note, and then when I come in and review the article, I can see what you were thinking there, and I can make changes as needed based on your recommendations. I'm not expecting that necessarily everything about these articles is going to be perfect when I get them back to you. What I'm looking for right now is I'm looking for how we might work together, and whether or not you can communicate to me when you need help, when you need a little bit of input, and be able to use the tools that we like to use to do so. So that's going to be a big part of what I'm looking for. If you have questions or comments like that, go ahead and use the comments. Obviously, if you're able to make the article amazing and you don't need to use comments, that's going to be beneficial too. So I'm not worried about necessarily seeing this. Just know that that's available if you have anything like that. Okay, and then finally, when you're done with the article, you're going to go to File, Email, Collaborators, and you should see myself and you under here. Actually, did I? Oh, well, I don't have this one. I have this one shared with anyone. But basically, here, I'm gonna share this with Chris real quick. All right, that way I can show you guys this. Okay, so when you email collaborators, this will come up. You want to make sure that I'm selected. You want to type a message here that says, finished article, please review, something to that effect. If you want to mention any notes like had some trouble areas, be sure to check the notes, anything like that. So the idea is, again, this is actually how you'd communicate with me when it comes to finishing an article, letting me know that it's done. This is part of the process. So I want you to use this tool specifically. I want you to email from within Google Docs and send out the email to me that way. And that'll let me know when you're finished, and that way I can review it. I'll give you a quick look. I'm going to be sharing this article with you. I'll change the name so that it's actually basically it'll be your name, test editing work your name. But so this is the article that you're working with. I want you to simplify it. Like I said, I want you to clarify it. Remove things that aren't necessary, bulk things out that flesh things out that are lacking, and yeah. So that's the basic idea. That's the process. Hopefully that gives you all the information you need on how to do this. If you have any questions, you can feel free to ask. I'm not expecting this to necessarily. It is pretty simple, but if there's anything that you need clarification on, it's not gonna go against you. I'd much rather you ask questions, and see that that's part of how you'd work with me, than have you not ask questions and then have it end up being wrong. That's that doesn't work out well for either of us. So that's I think that's about it. Again, if you have any questions, go ahead and just email me. And yeah, best of luck. And otherwise, it's probably worth noting we will be bringing on probably one person to do the bulk of our editing work, but we have a lot of backlog right now, so we will probably bring on at least one or two others to help get through that backlog, and then those backups will also be utilized whenever we get more work like this, whenever we have a bunch that needs to be gone through, and in the case of whoever we pick as our primary either falling out or not being able to continue, or getting busy, or whatever the case, where people move on. So that's kind of the plan. So yeah, so this is good idea of what this work entails. It's going to be paid hourly. We have some software that we use to track that you'll install on your computer. And it pays at $10 an hour. I mean, you can do it whenever you're doing, whenever, really. You can do it any time, any day, as long as you're meeting whatever basic guidelines for deadlines that we're setting. And the only thing that I would mention is that it could be difficult if you're not focused on it. I mean, we want you to definitely operate with integrity when it comes to this. If we're paying you hourly, then we expect that during the time that you're on the clock, that you're working on this. So if you're needing to be able to step away and do things, then you're going to need to be very vigilant about clocking out when you step away from it. So anyway, that's the idea. I just want to make sure that you guys all have a good understanding of kind of what the process is going to look like, what the working relationship will look like, and yeah. So if we decide to move forward with you, we can always discuss more details on that. But for right now, this is the basic idea of what we're doing. If you're not interested after hearing that this is the process and whatnot, then feel free to just let me know that. No harm, no foul. But otherwise, feel free to go ahead and proceed, get this article edited to the best of your abilities, and then I will review it and get back to you on kind of where we are with everything. Thank you very much, and again, if you have any questions, let me know.